So there's this massive corporate showdown brewing, and it's all about the future of online real estate. We're talking an activist investor going head to head with a tech giant. And right at the heart of it all, a $1 billion bet on a website you might actually be using to find your next home. And the opening shot? Well, it was fired with one single, very powerful word: fiasco. Yep, that's right. That's how activist investor Daniel Loeb, he's the founder of the hedge fund Third Point, described real estate tech giant CoStar's super ambitious and super expensive new strategy. I mean, talk about a direct challenge. This has set the stage for an absolutely epic conflict. Okay, so let's meet the two heavyweights in this fight, right? In one corner, you've got the challenger, Third Point. They're an activist hedge fund, and they're pretty well known for, shaking things up at big companies. Their demand is simple. They want CoStar to completely change its strategy. And in the other corner, that's the incumbent, CoStar Group, an absolute titan in commercial real estate. And they are defending their vision with everything they've got. So you might be asking, why go so public with this attack? What's the big deal? Well, let's dive into the investor's side of the argument. We're going to see exactly why Daniel Loeb thinks CoStar is making a $1 billion mistake. Okay, so Third Point's case, it really boils down to a few core problems they have. First off, they're saying, look, people are creatures of habit. You probably have your go-to website for house hunting already, right? Why on earth would you switch? Second, they're arguing that Homes.com just doesn't have a wow factor. There's no meaningful differentiation, as they put it, to actually get you to switch over. And that leads to their biggest point, the real kicker. CoStar is spending a massive amount of money with really uncertain returns. It's just a huge gamble. So what's their solution? It's pretty dramatic, actually. They want to bring in a whole new set of directors to force a change right from the very top. And this is the number at the very heart of this storm. $1 billion. That's not the total cost. That's just the marketing budget CoStar started spending in 2024 to promote Homes.com. To an investor like Third Point, a number like that isn't just a line on a spreadsheet. No, it's a giant, flashing red light. It's a symbol of a strategy they think is just burning through cash with no clear way to win. But hold on, CoStar has a very different story to tell. They're not just sitting back and taking this. They are pushing back, and they're pushing back hard. They're arguing that this isn't some wild gamble. Not at all. For them, it's just the next chapter in a playbook that they've used before, a playbook that's been incredibly successful. And this quote really says it all. This is CoStar's defiant response. They're basically leaning on their track record and saying, hey, trust us. We have never failed at this before, and we are not about to start now. They see all this criticism as, well, as people just not getting it. They think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how they operate, how they build these dominant businesses from the ground up. And if you look back at their history, you can see this isn't their first rodeo, not by a long shot. CoStar's whole argument is that making these huge, long-term investments, it's just part of their DNA. I mean, think about it. They spent years building their original commercial platform. Then in 2012, they bought LoopNet. In 2014, they bought Apartments.com and poured money into it until it became a leader. So for them, what they're doing with Homes.com, it's not some crazy, reckless new idea. It's the exact same playbook they've used to win time and time again. Okay, but what about that whole argument that Homes.com isn't really different? CoStar has an answer for that. It's something they call the your listing, your lead model. And the idea is actually pretty simple. It's all about being friendly to the real estate agent. So imagine you're on the site, you see a house you love. Their promise is to connect you directly with the agent who is actually selling that house. You're not getting passed off to some other agent who just paid for your information. And CoStar's betting that this one difference, this is the secret sauce that's going to win over the industry and ultimately you, the home buyer. And yeah, the spending definitely doesn't stop at marketing. CoStar also went out and spent a whopping $1.6 billion to buy Matterport. You've probably seen their work. They're the company that makes those awesome 3D virtual tours of houses. And this is a really key point. This isn't just for Homes.com. It's a huge tech investment that they can use across their entire family of brands. It really just goes to show how deeply committed they are to this long-term tech-focused vision for the entire real estate world. So to really wrap your head around what's at stake here, you have to understand the battlefield. And trust me, it is a brutal one. CoStar isn't just launching a website. They're jumping into what the industry calls the portal wars. It's this relentless, high-stakes fight for your eyeballs and clicks in the online home buying market. And this chart right here,
It paints a pretty clear picture of what CoStar's up against. This isn't some wide open market. It's a mountain, and at the top are some absolute giants. You've got Zillow as the undisputed king of the hill, with other huge players like Realtor.com and Redfin right there with them. This really visualizes just how steep the climb is for Homes.com. And honestly, it gives a lot of weight to that investor's argument that, our habits are already set.
So here we are. You have two sides. Neither one is willing to back down an inch. This whole thing is barreling towards a climax. The fight is moving beyond just strongly worded letters. Now it's a direct battle for control of the company's entire future. So the big question is, how does this all end? Well, here's what's going to happen next. First, Third Point is going to officially put forward their own list of people for the board of directors. Then it all comes down to a vote. The company's stockholders, the people who actually own the company, they get the final say. They'll have to make a choice. Do we stick with the current leadership and their billion-dollar vision, or do we bring in these new directors who will almost certainly shut the whole Homes.com project down? Literally, the fate of that billion-dollar bet just hangs in the balance of this one vote.
And that brings us right back to the central question, the one at the very heart of this whole drama. Is CoStar's massive bet on Homes.com a brilliant long-term play that's going to pay off just like all their others? Or is it exactly what the challenger claims it is, a billion-dollar fiasco in the making? At the end of the day, only time and, well, a pretty important shareholder vote will tell us who wins this war.